Hello YouTubers. This is the sixth module in this course. This is also the last module where we talk about, well, you have your app up and running and you're locally content with running it on your local machine, that everything is in place and everything is working the way you expected. How do you allow the world to use your application? So today we're going to talk about deployment. How do you deploy your app to a server so the world will be able to access your app and interact with it? uh, because I am a big fan of using a native stack, meaning that using all the components of the system, if your software development system has to be all native, meaning each and every one of them support the other natively by the company that created them. Microsoft have provided, as much as they have provided Visual Studio as an integrated development environment IDE, they also have provided a Windows Azure as a cloud-based system that allows you to deploy your applications regardless what technology or what language, whatever it is written in, and be able to control these applications straight from your IDE. And that's the beauty of it. When you use a full stack natively to support something, you get to enjoy little things like these that helps your productivity 100%. So this is the application sample of what we have been working on. Just a very simple model. That's the cups, and it has a drop down, and you could edit or create whatever you want. You save, you go back and create a new cup. Let's say I have a cup from Germany, another cup from Germany. Here's the details and all that. Okay, I'm happy with my app, but my app is running locally. That means that the world cannot access this app and be able to benefit from the services that the app provides. So how do we push this app to the world? What you first want to do, you want to have a Microsoft account and you want to have an Azure account. Windows Azure account meaning that you get to have a free account, and they give you $200 of credit if you want to take your app to the next level and include things like having a special domain name and whatnot. Typically, you could select, even though you get $200 free credit with your Azure account, you could also, if you don't really want your app to be a full-blown commercial app, you could just go with the part that allows you to deploy your app with a free package, meaning that your app is living out there in the cloud with limited resources that are just enough to have your app up and running, but you don't have to pay anything for it. So there are you have all these options like packages, pricing packages that allows you, to determine whether you want to add more features that may cost money or not. So if you're done with creating an account, you will probably want to use an Outlook account or Live account, or even, I don't know if these exist or not anymore, MSN.com account. Any of these accounts that Microsoft supports in their platform. And what you're going to want to do is that, first of all, try to log in to Visual Studio with your account, but also we're gonna go over just the project that is the web project that you want to deploy. Right click on that project, go to Publish, and then you get that list of things you want to do to deploy your application to Azure. So I'm going to select Microsoft Azure App Service. I'm going to select one of my subscriptions. So I'm going to go with, let's go with Visual Studio Professional with MSDN. Let's create a new resource group. A resource group is basically like a bag or a container that contains all the components of your system. So in this particular case, our system is a web application and a database server and a database that lives in that database server. So I have three components. You want them all to be inside the very same container. So if you want to move that resource group around, if you want to change the pricing tier, if you want to give it a different name, if you want to have other people be able to access and support that, you want them all to be in one package and not spread around your cloud system, which makes it way easier to manage a bunch of resources that serve a common purpose. So let's give our resource, let's give our app a name. So let's call it demo web app. Someone took that name. Let's give it another name. Web application. I don't know. That's a very, very common name. Let's say demo web here. They like that. Demo WA app. And I'll tell you why some names are taken. Just make sure you're logged in with your Microsoft account in here. Make sure that you are selecting the right subscription. Also, it is better for you to understand where is your resource group is gonna be. So let's create a new resource group, and let's call it demo web app resources. So that is the container that's gonna have all your stuff in one package. All right. Let's also select a new service plan, and as you see, you have free, shared, and all kinds of different tiers. In this particular case, we don't need anything special, so we're just going to go with the free account, size free, and then I am in central US, and it really depends on your audience. Where do you want your application to be deployed? You can have your application deployed to multiple locations. So it depends on the user that is logging into your application. It will select the closer thing, the closer instance of the application to their location. So it will be easier for them to access the app. Otherwise, it shouldn't be a big difference. So this is for the web application, but we also have a database, and we need a database server. So we're going to go to services. And we're going to have to add a SQL database, which comes in with a SQL database server. So we're going to create a new one, demo web app database server. Let's give it a username so you can access that later. Always remember your username and password. Let's do this. Just give it a password. Click OK. And now this is configuring the actual server. So you have this is your server, and then this is the specific database that's going to live on that database server. You could have multiple databases living on the same database server. It's up to you. So in this particular case, it's going to be one database. That's the database name. I don't like dashes. Let's call it DB. And click OK. So what do we have here? We have the plan, free plan. You could also go back and configure that however you want. We have a demo web app server. We already have the name, we have the administrator username and whatnot. And I'll tell you later how that all works together when it comes to the IDE and how you could access your stuff from the IDE without having to go to a web page and go through the UI and try to figure out, you know, what's wrong with your data or whatnot. We also have the demo web app database, which is living inside your demo web app server. You could go through other servers, but this is the one that we have within this particular resource group. So we're going to create that. So we have 6 deployment steps. It's going to take all that stuff and create it for you in Azure. But not just that, it's going to create also a profile for you that you could share on your source control, so you are able to have other people also deploy to this particular project without having any issues. Also, you have to have these people have their access right, but that's a little bit of an advanced subject we'll get to that in a more advanced courses in the future. So we're waiting on it to fully deploy. 1 out of 6. One of the most important things, you need to understand that you need to have a special link when you go to AzureMicrosoft.com. You want to go to your portal, and your portal will allow you to log in. If you have your username and password saved, it'll allow you to log in. So if you go to resource group, we should see our resource being created right now. So we are on Visual Studio Professional. So here's our resource group right here as it being created. If I click here, it created the database server and the plan, but it's still creating the other things that we want. We have 2 out of 6. So as it goes, it creates all the components that you need for your system. It even tells you what's the status of deployment in here. And this is the best way you could actually manage your components in the cloud. You could clone them. You could allow certain people to just read access so they know that these components exist and there's maintenance going on. It'll help you a lot with your business when it comes to not having to worry about a certain server, especially when it's all one native stack. The language, the technology, the framework, the IDE, the source control, the Agile board, and the cloud. All of that is dancing together on the same rhythm. So that'll help you a lot with your development productivity. So this is still going. Have not deployed any databases to this server yet. Still working on that. Now 3 components out of 6. Let's see what component that is. For refresh here, I assume that's the database being deployed, or just the service plan. Also, while it's being deployed, one important thing I want to talk about is adding your project to source control. If you are willing to share your project across multiple teams or multiple people, and you want multiple people to be able to work on that particular project, then you need to have a place where you could save your work. You could have like source control, and one good way to do that is if you go to Team Foundation Server. It should be our Visual Studio Online. So we could go to here. And we could go to my profile. You could create your own account and whatnot. I'll just go to one of my profiles and I will create a new project. Let's call it Demo Web App. I want it to be agile. I want it to be controlled by Team Foundation server, and I want to start creating my project. All right, we created the project. So this now is a place where you get to actually add or remove people. Like you get to, this is for adding code, you get to actually add or remove people from your project and have them participate. For instance, if you go here and if you go to security, if you go to members, I could go in and say, hey, I want to add Josh McCall. My friend Josh, I'm going to add him here, and he's now a part of this project. As soon as I click save, it will send him a notification, and it will say, you know, you have been added as a member of this project. You could also remove members as you go, and it'll be exactly the same. So that's that. Let's go back and see. I'll show you now. Now you created that place to save your source code. Where your code is going to live is where you click on code. All your source code should show up in here. So let's go back here. So apparently the deployment is completed. If I validate my connection with the new link that allows people anywhere in the world to access your app, it says the link is valid. Now if I click publish, it will take all that code and it'll deploy it in the cloud. If I go back to Azure and refresh, I should see all the components that I wanted to deploy. So I have the database, I have the database server, and I have my application, my actual instance of my actual application. So now that I deployed my app, as soon as you do publish, it will initiate a new web page to show you your app on the cloud. There it is, up and running, free of a charge. Anyone in the world would go to that link, will be able to access your app. So they can go to cups and they could add all the cups they need, and all that data is being saved in the database instance that you've just created in the cloud. So you could create new, could go Germany, I could create whatever I want. It doesn't matter. And if you watch the part where we talk about security, you could also secure your apps. You only allow people to register and log in and do all kinds of things. Fully formed, full-blown web application running in the cloud in less than probably 10 minutes or so. Now, so we deployed our stuff. That's great. Let's add our project to source control. So if I go to Team Explorer, and I click on Manage Connections, and if I click on Connect to Team Project, to a specific team project, this window should pop up. I have many projects, but the one that we just created should show up in here, which is Demo Web App. There it is. So I'm going to select that. Now right click, add solution to source control. It will pop up that window, and then you want to go to Demo Web App, and when you click on Demo Web App, it will show up a mark right next to each and every file on your project. That plus mark means that this file is new and is not added to source control yet. So if you do right click and you check in and just say initial commit to my demo app, and then you click check in and you click yes, it will commit all these files to source control. So now your app is living in the cloud and your code is living in TFS. So if tomorrow morning your computer is not working anymore you don't lose nothing, because you don't lose anything, because your application is protected in source control, and now all the green marks, the green pluses that were next to your files, all of them now are locked, meaning that you are up to date with the version that is in TFS. So if we go to TFS, and if I refresh this page, I should see all the files that I just committed. You see this one in here? And also if you click on history, you'll see initial commit to my demo app. So now your app, your source control is in TFS. Not just that, but also your code lives in there. You don't have to worry about losing it on your machine. So if I do a very little change in here, instead of saying USA Mexico, I'm also going to add Egypt in here. So you see that red mark in here, that means that this file has been modified, and it does not match the version that exists in source control. So if I go to demo, models, cup, the version that's in source control does not have Egypt in it, because you did not commit that code from your local machine to TFS. So how do we go about doing that? We check in, added Egypt to cup types in the cup model. And if you check in that, that goes all the way up. And if you refresh here, here it shows Egypt. If you look at the history of commits, you should see the new commit that I just made. Thank you for watching.